Hello and welcome to another episode of No Load Time. My name is Obed Velez, and with me is the most interesting man in the world, Joel Young.
What's good? No load time. Obed, pleasure to be back with you, my friend.
Good to see you again, sir. We were able to partake in lunch today, so that was
Yes,
pretty good, man.
we broke bread.
Good to see you. So it's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. It's been a while since we had gotten to, have some good time to catch up outside of the podcast. So it's always again good to see each other, not virtually, but in person. So yeah, man. No,
Yeah.
it's good. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about tonight. Oh my goodness, guys, we got so good. We're gonna talk about Obed watched a movie that I cannot wait to discuss. Before we get into it, I don't have too much updates on my end, dude. The end of My Adventures with Superman, that show is done on HBO Max.
Okay, now I'll
I
watch it.
Yeah, I totally recommend watching it. I want to say it was 10 episodes exact, but it ends on a cliffhanger, so it's very obvious that yes, they indeed do need to have a second season. I know they said they were working on that from when the show already released, which is obviously bold to do when something is not fully out yet and to already have the confidence to release more of that franchise. But no, I really found it very charming. It's one of those shows that I could see a lot
Oh,
of
oh no, you froze.
you
You froze.
yourself.
There we go. You're back.
Oh,
No. Mm,
yeah.
uh
I
oh.
see.
Do you want to correct bugs, and we'll be right back, sir? Yes, we'll be right back.
Yep.
Hey, we're back. I think Joel's back from the dead.
I live.
He
I'm back.
lives. So yes, Superman.
Yeah, My Adventures Superman, long short of it is it's very exciting. 10 episodes. The episodes are quite short. Like I was saying, something that the younger people I think will very much enjoy. And then people like ourselves who appreciate animation and don't just look at it as thing of the youth, but really just appreciate good storytelling will enjoy it too. But yeah, it's just great the episodes are short. I love Olsen. They make him like this conspiracy theorist kind of character. So it's kind of like a comedy shtick that they do with him throughout, which of course working with Superman, it's like an alien man. People are like, what are you talking about? And they just plan it very well. Lois is some of the best Lois I've seen, in my opinion, in a cinematic standpoint. A lot of times, People fall into the trope of just making her the love interest, but many of us know her from the comics and from some of the other positive representations that she's, truly an investigative journalist. She's not just a journalist, but she's an investigator, and she puts herself out there because she has Superman standing behind her, who knows that his ear is always turned towards her to make sure that he's there for her. So they play off it all very well. But the animation style is really awesome,
Yeah,
super
yeah.
anime, and like when you look at even some of the character designs, it's at first you're like, wait a second, it's that character? Like, without trying to spoil it, like Slade Wilson, when the first time you see him, you may not recognize that Slade Wilson. You're like, oh wait, that's him. So I just loved that overall. But yeah, it's a nice show. I think you'll enjoy it when you get to see it. But that's all I got on my end for updates,
Cool.
man. I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, now that it's done, I'll check it out. I've been it's been on my radar for a bit now, so I'm definitely gonna jump in and watch it. But Joe, I finally got an opportunity to watch a movie that, according to you, still does not exist.
But yes,
No, it
it's not
exists. It finally exists, and got to watch The Flash. So okay, I and I went in to this movie with an open mind, right? And was able to actually do a very good job at separating the artist from the art. And I had a great time. I liked it. It was fun. It was fun. It was funny. Some of the jokes are really ham fisted, and some of it is like too on the nose, and it's like, oh, I bet this he's gonna do this thing. This is gonna be freaking hilarious. Yeah, that's exactly the same. So, uh, it that's basically the when it comes to the humor of the movie. That's how I felt. A lot of it was really good. A lot of part of it was like too on the nose for me. Surprisingly, it was very emotional. It had very emotional parts that were very deep and existential and all this stuff, right? And it was all. Oh, by the way, guys, again, spoilers. We're gonna go into huge, huge, huge spoilers here. Uh, Nothing is off for the entirety of DC,
Yep.
going back to 1978. So, or probably even before that. Uh,
The
so
dawn of
no, yeah,
time.
like what 64 probably. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean the emotional parts with the mom and the reasoning behind it and all that were I think pretty powerful, very emotional. Made me feel stuff, right, which is good. And again, I've said it many times on the podcast that the worst thing a movie can do for you, it's for you to be indifferent towards it. And I wasn't. I laughed. I felt the feels, and for the most part, I had a great time watching it. Um, it, it's really rough to pay attention to the movie when when you're in that time sphere. That is, Joel. Um, I think that the CG crew that worked on The Mummy Returns and the model of Dwayne The Rock Johnson as the Scorpion King should be proud of themselves because that was what 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's comparable to that. Some PS2 looking people there, sir. Especially that Henry Cavill from Justice League. It's rough. It's probably the worst CG I've seen in a major motion picture in the last 20 years. Since probably, like Dwayne The Rock Johnson
Yeah.
in
Like
The
it was
Mummy
that
Return.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's probably the worst I've seen. And putting those aside, right? I think that the big action set piece of the movie, which is the desert fight with Zod, that looked good, right? So I think that there's the baby sequence at the beginning. Some of it was good. Some of it was rough. Um, I don't know if you noticed the big head. Like his head
Yeah.
was bigger
Yeah.
than it was supposed to be in some of those scenes. Um, but going back to the time sphere, dude. Wow, man, that is insanely bad. Like I'm still like taken aback on how bad it was. Like it was incredibly, dude. It was like some Sharknado stuff. It was, yeah. Um, and then right, we go to the cameos, which again, some of it looked good, and some of it was like, ooh, ooh, this is really bad. Okay. So I guess we can talk about the cameos, right? Because that's the big thing on the movie, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
big thing, right?
Yeah, dude. It's a big
So
moment.
we see the I guess the first like the serial Superman. I forgot the actor's name. We see Christopher Reeve Superman. He looked good. Supergirl was rough. Like she looked really bad. Like her hair looked like Final Fantasy X cutscene hair from
Yeah.
PS2, dude. It was really bad. And then, and I know I'm not putting anything against the team that worked on it. But I think that the studio is to blame on this one. These guys are very talented, right? I'm no CG graphics designer. I'm no animator, and I think the people that worked on it are very talented. They were just not given enough time to proper or the proper tools to work on it. And then the big one, right? The big like the internet stopper moment, which is the Nick Cage, uh, Superman. I knew that it was in there when he
Yeah.
was fighting a giant spider. I got a real good sensible chuckle because if you know you
We
know,
know.
right.
Yeah.
If you've been on top of like superhero and comic book movies for a long time, you know the stories about the producer that wanted Superman to fight a giant spider in the Nick Cage movie, or whatever that case might have been back then. So yeah, Nick Cage looked weird. He looked exactly as I thought he would look. Because I've seen the like
Right.
test footage and pictures of him in the suit. But for the most part, he looked fine, right? And then we see some Adam West. We hear Cesar Romero's Joker in the back. They try to do everything right. Um, I just I thought right, and again, I'm not dunking on the movie because I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. Like I'm just pointing out right that this was not what so the disappointment was not as big as the multiverse of madness disappointment, right, where it went
That
nowhere.
was rough. Yeah.
um and I mean those cameos were excellent, right,
Hmm.
but unfortunately it just didn't go anywhere. This one at least gives you like it may go in any direction, but also like yeah, they're just there as like fan service, and there's nothing really more to that, right? And I think that they didn't sell the movie as a multiverse movie, right? They sold it as like a sort of like retelling of Flashpoint, which it worked in that way, but the whole cameo thing was I expected the deep cuts to be deeper. I mean, the Nick Cage thing was excellent because again, if you know, you know. But I thought there was gonna be more. Um, as soon as he started getting shrapnel, and I was like, oh, he's the dark dude that's kicking him out. As
Very
soon,
obvious.
yeah, like I caught it right away, right? That was pretty obvious, and and the sacrifice and all that, and I think it was all well done. I think overall this movie was well written and well paced. I was very entertained throughout the whole thing. Right, it's just that it's again the
Yeah.
visual effects were atrocious, dude. And again, not in every scene. Like some of the fight with Zod was really good. Um, Kind of disappointed that Supergirl was not there more. Like she was there for like 5 minutes. Like honestly,
Right.
Keaton was excellent. Of course, like he's the man, right? So he was great. Um, and the big surprise at the end, right, where things did change, and when he calls Bruce, and instead of Ben Affleck, is George Clooney that shows up. That was good. That
Yeah,
was
that's
a really
funny.
good surprise, right? And it kind of worked, right, with the whole like he's being Batman for a very long time, right? And it worked out great. I think it was a great cameo, and could open the door for more stuff. Like could I mean who knows, right? But overall, I enjoyed it a lot, man. Again, I went in with tempered expectations and an open mind, and I had a great time. So,
Yeah, I think you're similar to me.
okay.
Like where I got my initial reaction to the movie, and this is why I had to do an updated review video when I put it out because I was like, look, what I saw, they were explicitly clear. This is an early cut. This is not the final cut. Literally had to read off of a paper. This is from the director, what they're saying, whatever, go. So I'm like, oh, okay, the CGI stuff, that's going to get fixed. That's just an early cut. Those scenes where they talk about, a couple of those really, really silly moments with like the two, berries that some of them kill with each other. Some of that's gonna get cut, and then or the end scene, like you're saying, like they'll clean up, the just that sequence together where the collision is happening. Really, Crisis on Infinite Earths, you're basically having that set up happen, and all of that just stayed the exact same. I didn't notice any difference. The only thing that was different, Obed, was that they cut the movie early where he says, "I'm coming around the back," with Batman on the phone, and then he goes, who the heck is that when he comes out? And then it just cuts. They didn't show us who it
Mm.
was.
Hmm.
I'm like, that was the thing you hid was George Clooney. You should have hidden like all these other visual effects if you
Oh
weren't
yeah,
if
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what you knew what it was gonna be.
yeah.
And it was pretty sad because like then you hear later on, I don't know if you saw this a bit when the director was trying to defend the CGI and says, oh, it's supposed to look off because he's in the Speed Force, and in the Speed Force everything looks blurry. I'm like, no, that is some real lying through your teeth, buddy. We
That's
know that is
yeah.
not right.
That's kind of like that's a lame excuse if you ask me. It's just that doesn't really, yeah, it doesn't check out. It doesn't check out.
No,
Yeah.
that's like just real. That's a very obvious excuse. But I mean, look, I for what the general structure, what the movie itself actually is, I think I actually was on board with it, and I did like what they were trying to do, the story they were trying to tell. The execution of it was just really sad and poor. And they sold us a bag of goods, and unfortunately, it just didn't live up to it. I've talked for a long time this movie should have never come out. In some ways, I say that's still not the actual movie. That's something else, whatever this thing is, dude. But it's a real shame that this is what they decided to go with because if you ever get a chance to see Blue Beetle, like, look, man, Blue Beetle is way better with CGI, and that movie was just made like a year and a half ago at max.
Yeah.
Where this thing was worked on for at least 3 4 years at least when it actually started getting to be shot. And it should have been a moment where Michael Keaton should have been getting his flowers and getting his love for what he did for the character.
Yeah.
Like that end scene to me when Barry is like, we can bring you back, like we can save you. He says,
Yeah.
you already did bring me back. You already did save me. Like as like a fan, like that was like, oh, that's really sweet. Almost like he's saying to the fans, like, you did bring me back, like,
Yeah.
to have me come back and play this character.
Uh oh, you're low.
I
I think I lost you again,
Because
sir.
do it.
Sir, I think I lost. Hey, there you go. You're
Um,
back.
no.
I got audio,
I
no
know.
video,
I
sir.
don't know what's going on today, guys. We're having some really strange issues.
Zoom.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what this is.
It's all the
This is
internets,
very
man.
bizarre.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I thought originally it was Discord, but now it's Zoom too. What the heck? Let me see if I can
Yeah.
get my screen here. Hold on.
Oh.
It's wow. That's what I'm saying, right? It is incredibly bad. And I don't want to dunk on the guys, the FX guys. It's probably not their fault, but if you already have a character model already made for Justice League, why not use that one? From the Snyder cut, and they had to probably make their own one that looks like garbage. I'm being honest, man. It's like
Eh,
it's
It,
unacceptably bad.
it's
And
unacceptable,
yeah,
inexcusable in a
yeah.
modern age.
So
You,
like
the amount of money they've lost on this
Even
film.
Disney when they're rushing, right? Even Disney when they're rushing, they don't mess it up as bad
No,
as
no,
they
no,
do
no.
as they did here. It's something else. It's out of control, right?
Yeah.
And I don't. It's unfortunate, right? Because it takes focus away from the movie, and the movie is good. And and it, I don't want.
Yeah.
I,
The good things.
yeah, exactly. Because you see the Henry Cavill, and then the rest of the movie, you're just thinking about the Henry Cavill CG because it burned your eyes. So, um, yeah, man, I don't. Mm, rough. It honestly it's unfortunate that it was that bad. Because I enjoyed the movie. I think the movie was charming, well written. Ezra Miller for the most part was fine, right? And then everyone else was good. Again, Michael Keaton's great. The actress that played Supergirl's good. And
Yeah.
you can tell that Michael Shannon's phoning it in. You've seen the interviews. You can tell that
Oh yeah.
you can tell he's phoning it in, and he's still good, right?
Oh
But
yeah. It's fine. It's
but
fine.
but yeah, it's unfortunate, right? That it happened. So yeah, man. Joe, before we talk Ahsoka, let's take a quick break, see if we can iron out a couple of this technical issues, and we will be right back.